Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Jesse Morrison and Mitch Vareldis. I'm Jeremy Schnell. Breaking, the Pac-12.
Yeah, it's broken more so than anything else right now.
There's 4 teams left. What's wrong? They'll just piece together. They'll find Boise State and San Diego State and
Here's the thing.
Colorado School of
All right,
Mines.
hold on. Let's before we go any further, let's not bury the obvious lead here. ASU, Arizona, Utah, Big 12. That's it. It's
Colorado
happening
too.
next year. Colorado too, but the one that is the breaking of today, ASU, Arizona, Utah, Big 12.
Officially.
Unanimously approved to the Big 12.
Officially.
by the way.
Officially official.
It is officially official, as Ian Rappaport would say on Twitter.
And not only that, but 2 other schools in the Pac-12, in the Pac-12 for
Well, the formerly
couple more-
Pac-12.
just a little under a year left for them. Oregon and Washington are officially voted in to the Big Ten.
Yep.
What a crazy day.
Here's what I'll say, guys. I thought we were going to come in here and we were going to be pleading to ASU to please get out of this Pac-12, whatever it's going to be. It's not going to be anything anymore. I thought we were going to come in here and be pleading to ASU, telling them, please get out of here, go away, go to the wherever, Big 12, Big 10, whatever it may be. And we didn't have to sweat it out this weekend. They did the right thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they did the right thing. I wanted the entire Pac-12 to stay together going back to last year. I wanted USC, I wanted UCLA, I wanted everyone to stay together because I love the Pac-12 and I love the schools in the Pac-12. However, when there's a sinking ship, you've got to get off of that sinking ship. And they got off of the sinking ship when they had to. And props to ASU for finally making the right decision with an athletic decision and, jumping to the Big 12. It's going to be weird. It's going to be an adjustment, but luckily there's still some, classic ASU rivalries, especially obviously the Territorial Cup that we're still going to get to experience with this new conference, and hopefully, some new rivalries come out of this.
You made the joke already, though, Jesse. We have a new OSU that we have to refer to from here on out.
Correct.
As
No
ASU
longer
fans.
Oregon State. It's Oklahoma State.
Everybody's favorite
Well,
tweeter, Mike Gundy, right? No.
So wait, is ASU going to play them now 3 years in a row because they played
Oh,
last
gosh.
year? They're going to play this year. They might play next year.
Here's what I think is going to happen, though, is I think it's going to be a Big 12 West, a Big 12 East.
And then they'll sprinkle in a few
And
matchups.
they'll sprinkle in a few matchups
kind of
between
like
the
what
two.
the ACC does
Correct.
in the Big Ten.
I do not think the Big 20. I do
Isn't
not
it 18 now?
something like that. I do not think that ASU is going to be traveling to play Central Florida and Orlando every year.
I want that so bad.
I do too.
Aren't they going to weave it? It's you play there once, and then the next year you're in the opposite place, and then the third year is an off, and then repeat,
That's
right?
I think that should be how they do it.
There's no way that
for
they're going
sure.
to do only conference games throughout the year. There has to be some sort of easy competition in the beginning. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. There's gonna be non-conference games still.
Yeah.
Of course. ASU could still play the other OSU now, Oregon State, every now and then. Oregon, Washington State.
Here's what I'll say. People were so upset and bothered about, what about, the rivalries? Oregon State, Oregon might get broken up. Florida and Florida State play every year.
Yeah.
Like all these schools, they'll still be able to play each other on rivalry week every year. Right? I don't think this is as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. It's just so that the schools can get the TV money that they deserve.
That's what it's always been about.
Here's the thing. Some of the rivalries have stayed with moving of conferences and stuff. Some haven't. Some have returned. Hopefully they can keep these rivalries together. Looks like Oklahoma State will not. West Virginia and Pitt, the backyard brawl, just became a thing again after a decade of not playing each other.
Right.
So it's going to be detrimental to some of the rivalries, which is sad. But hopefully that they can work something out to where it doesn't kill too many of the rivalries. And then again, you will get some new ones. So That'll be fun to see.
I hope the war on I-4 continues to happen. You guys know what that is?
No.
The war on I-4.
You making Florida references does not automatically mean
you
we
knew
know
what it
is.
was.
Well, okay. What else am I supposed to assume that it's related to?
No idea what the war on I-4 is.
You don't know what the war on I-4 is?
No.
It's-
Okay, how about the Mile High Showdown before you explain your two teams?
All right,
involvement?
Colorado and Colorado State. I get it.
They have not been in the same conference for like ever and would still play at the Broncos Stadium at least once a year.
So USF and UCF is what the
Okay,
war on
okay.
I-4 is.
Okay. I'm sure that'll still be a rivalry. Like, who knows? Who knows? You don't know.
But let's continue this discussion about ASU. We're getting a little too off topic here. This is huge for the school, for the kids. And Jesse, you brought up this point off the air earlier. This is going to help their recruiting, especially down south.
Yeah, it helps with the Florida recruiting, helps with the Texas recruiting, because these kids will be playing in those states. Their friends and family can come and see them play on more of a regular basis, whether that's every year or every couple of years, is up to, what they end up doing with the scheduling. But, it'll be really good for ASU in those particular states. However, California recruiting, I don't know what happens with that.
Here's what I'll say, though, also. I want those kids that weren't recruited by the Baylor, Texas Tech, and all those schools in Texas.
Come to ASU.
I want them to come to ASU.
Come to Tempe.
And I want them to play against those schools, and I want them to beat them.
I
want those kids with the edge, Jesse.
I do too, but I also kind of think that they've already tried that with like Southern California players against USC.
Yeah.
And
it worked a little bit.
It worked a little bit, but what we want and what I want to see out of Arizona State is for things to work a lot, not just a little bit. I don't want 8-5. I think that Arizona State should be a perennial 9-10 win program, not 8-5. So,
well, if anything, they've made it a lot tougher on themselves in the immediate because we've got a first-year head coach this year. Next year, we imagine that I don't see any reason as to why Kenny Dillingham wouldn't be retained. But then the expectation is, all right, so if you start Trenton Bourguet this year, or if you start Drew Pine, whoever it ends up being, now you're moving into a brand new quarterback in a brand new conference against a lot of competition that you're not super duper familiar with. And you have to imagine that, at least for today, some of those players have like that small little thought in the back of their head. Not the very front mind thought, but like in the back of their head. Like if you're Jaden Rashada right now, and you don't think that it's going to go your way this year, you don't start this year, you come back again next year knowing that you're going to have to go against Big 12 competition?
yeah, he wanted to go against SEC competition.
Well, now it's Big 12.
Yeah, which is better than what he was going to go against in the Pac-12 for the most part.
Fair enough.
Like,
I mean,
and
three of those
even
Pac-12
without Texas and Oklahoma, because I don't even think Texas and Oklahoma are that great right now as programs. Oklahoma had a down year and Texas hasn't been good. Texas is not back. They're definitely not back.
Texas every year talks about how they're
So,
back.
but
When did
again,
they last
again-
win the national championship? When was that? 07, 08?
It was a lot.
05.
I think it was like
Vince
05.
Young.
Yeah, it was
Vince
Vince
Young,
Young.
yeah.
Yeah. Because Colt didn't win it there. But no, what I like, Baylor and TCU and Oklahoma State, those programs, that's going to be a draw to play against those schools for sure.
And I would say, besides Baylor being really good that year, that when they had the
Matt Rule?
when they had Matt Rule, like they're about on the
That
same.
was an exciting year for them, yeah.
They're about on the same level as ASU when it comes to football.
And they've had some really good years. They've
the
had some
RG3
scandals
year,
and
but,
stuff, but
I mean, like I look at these schools and I'm like, I would say ASU is about on the same level as the schools that they're going up against.
Here, I have the full
and
list
that they
right
can
here.
compete.
The full list right here for next season. The 16 member schools of the Big 12. Arizona State, Baylor, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, Colorado, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, Utah, and West Virginia.
the Big 12 has a more recent national champion than any of the Pac-12 schools. UCF won the national championship a few years ago.
Oh, stop. I mean, so obviously TCU seems to be the one that sticks out the most, but Cincinnati was, of course, a top 4 team last year.
Mm-hmm.
Houston has had a couple of undefeated seasons in the recent years when they were in the
Conference
the prior
USA
conference. Yeah, the prior conference.
or
they were-
AAC.
The problem is with this conference.
a lot of things.
No, well,
It's all over the map.
I'm basketball.
Well, basketball, ASU's kind of hosed, right?
Yeah.
This feels like a massive win for Arizona and Kansas and Houston, and it feels like Arizona State.
Well,
We
people are going to
can
want
touch on it later, but I wonder how many new decisions they'll have to make as a result of this.
Kids are going to want to come play here, right? But Baylor, Texas Tech, Houston, Arizona. Who am I missing? All
Kansas.
Kansas. All these.
Probably the biggest one.
Kansas State, West Virginia, Press Virginia.
It's not going to be Press Virginia anymore well, unless he somehow finds his way back, and he apparently didn't resign. I don't know. I'm not here to talk about Bob Huggins.
Either way, the recruiting is going to get better for ASU in terms of basketball, I would hope. It's just the competition is going to be so crazy. It's going to be fun to watch, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be tough.
But
at
maybe
first.
to Jesse's point, going in line with football, you can entice recruits the same way as saying, hey, look at this awesome competition that we get to face year in and year out in what seems to be the best basketball conference as it stands right now heading into 2024.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fantastic college basketball conference. Outside of maybe BYU, I don't know what BYU has really done in the college basketball landscape since
They have
Jimmer Fredette was there.
Here's what I think when I look at this basketball conference. Not only competition, I look at the atmospheres of the different places that they're going to go and play. BYU has an insane atmosphere when
true.
it comes to football and college
It's a
basketball.
good spot in Utah, too.
Yeah.
To be in that
Baylor
area,
is
Provo.
building. Baylor is specifically building. I think they're going to open it this fall. A smaller arena so that the atmosphere is right on top of you.
Yeah.
And they're going to be. Baylor's the school that honestly I'm scared of the most because that school has tradition basketball wise, men's and women's. They've been a really good basketball program for the past like 20 years. Kansas is going to be tough to play against all the time. Obviously, Houston is going to be tough, but we'll see how Houston does. I mean, they've kind of been dominating a lesser conference on the men's basketball side of things.
I'm very, very intrigued to see what ASU does to Desert Financial Arena.
They better make some renovations now.
They have to.
Because have you seen what
You got your TV deal now, that's for sure.
You see what they do to Allen Fieldhouse to keep that place up. Again, new arena at Baylor. Houston, I'm pretty sure, has a nice arena. Oklahoma State has an iconic arena. It's going to be hard to recruit to Desert Financial Arena now, and it was hard in the Pac-12 because it was probably the worst arena in the conference.
It's now the pack of 4 for the time being, but we'll have to see what happens to the rest of the teams. Real quick, Mitch.
Yes.
If you're Stanford, you're the team left, right? You're the team that has the TV deal. I would say
you
San
have the
Francisco.
pedigree of the
Yeah.
4 remaining teams. The conference still has the big game, so you got Stanford and Cal at the end of the year. Who's fighting for that axe? It's funny you bring up Stanford. So my dad is actually an alum, and after we saw the news about ASU, this was hours ago when we saw that they were applying for the Big 12. So this was before they were accepted. I asked him, "How are you doing with all this conference news?" And he says, "Whatever. College sports will not be better because of all this." And he went on to say, "Would not be surprised if the Big 10, 12, or SEC eventually boot out their weakest members so they do not have to pay them." And I don't think there's any worry about that in the immediate, but this new media rights deal that Brett Yormark just signed for the Big 12, it only runs through 2030. ASU has 6 years to kind of prove their staying power if conferences decide to go in this sort of a direction. You know
Let's
what I
think
mean?
about that in 6 years. I've had a lot on my mind these past couple of days.
it just
I do
it
not
just
need to
crossed
think
my
about
mind.
that. Yeah, I understand that, but again, I'm just not there yet where I want to think about that. I'm just gonna think about the near and immediate future and what's going to happen. I'm excited for the last year of the Pac-12 and then these new opportunities in the Big 12. That's just my view on things at the moment.
How are you excited about this last year in the Pac-12?
Oh, because it's going to be like you're going to get to at least it's not like they're like, "Oh, we're going to leave tomorrow." We still get to savor the one last year.
We get a full year of knowing that 8 of these member schools are not going to be here.
Yeah,
a
but
year
we
from
get
now.
to enjoy the rivalries and the teams playing each other one last time.
We get to, but is anybody else interested in watching that go down? Do we think that Big 12 fans are like rushing to their televisions for Pac-12
No,
after
but it
dark
never
this
were.
season? Exactly.
It doesn't
So what has changed
matter.
about that now?
This is just for
We're talking about us.
they're talking about me.
Just I don't know how you can be excited for this season. Like I've kind of lost all mojo for the Pac-12 in general this year. I'm already thinking about what's going to be better for this university next
I'm
year.
excited seeing Kenny Dillingham's team. I'm excited to see what ASU men's hoops can do
But it's not
after
gonna feel the
losing
same
all
when-
of these transfers. I'm excited to see what Natasha Adair can do in her second season here. I'm
haven't even-
excited to see what the softball team can do
Exactly.
in the second regime,
We haven't
second
even
year of that
talked about
regime.
softball yet. in the
Oh
Big
my
12.
gosh.
Softball is going to be awesome.
Holy smokes.
Softball's going to be
With Oklahoma,
hard.
with Oklahoma out of the way now too.
Oh, that is true.
that's a reprieve.
Oklahoma is out of the way, but still, that conference is good for softball.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Here's what I meant about the whole how can I be excited about this? They play USC week 4. When's the next time they're going to play USC again? after
that's
that?
why you can be excited about it, because it's the last time for a
But I
while.
like watching them go against USC, and I like being pissed off at their stupid fight song that they play every single time they get a first down.
That fight song sucks.
I know it sucks. I said it sucks.
Overrated, like Michael Penix Jr.
Last game against Cal, but I wasn't already excited about watching them play against Cal anyway, right? Colorado.
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
trying to go to that
The
game.
Colorado one is probably the one I'm most excited about outside the Territorial Cup because I cannot wait to see what all of this hype
Yeah.
around Deion Sanders
Yeah.
brings to that program. Plus, then I can poke fun at my brother who's a CU student right now.
Yeah. No, I think that.
But
that-
outside of that, I'm already thinking about
you
next
just
year. I
named
don't
like
care
4
about this
things
year.
that you're excited about.
Yeah, Mitch. You know what?
I'm a contradictory person.
I'm gonna call out your BS here, Mitch. You are excited for the last year of the Pac-12. Willie Bloomquist's next year at baseball at ASU. How can you not be excited for that?
Before he starts bad mouthing players that want to leave after this. year.
Sure. We never got to that for some reason.
But I mean, hockey. We will clarify. Hockey is still going to the conference that they're going to. They are not going to.
I don't think there's a Big 12 for hockey unless it's a
No,
club hockey.
there's a reason that they were already going to that conference. Let's be real.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's super exciting.
Oh,
2
then they
new conferences. I'm Mr. Positive today. You know what? That's me, Mr. Positive.
You should be. This is fun. This is what we wanted.
I didn't want the conference to go away. I did not.
No.
I want to say that right now. I did not want the conference to go away.
Neither did I.
I just am happy that Arizona State is going to still be a big time player in college athletics for the time being.
We saw the writing on the wall last week when Colorado made it
It's
official.
written in Sharpie.
And we were yelling at the top of our lungs into these microphones.
Get
Not
out.
necessarily.
Actually,
these
they were
microphones.
in the other
Yeah,
studio.
the other microphones.
That studio is going under maintenance right now.
Okay. Anyway, we were yelling at the top of our lungs into microphones, appealing, praying that ASU would also see the writing on the wall in Sharpie.
We were pleading, desperate, on our knees, hands in the air, looking up to whatever deity you look up to nowadays.
But yes,
It's a reprieve at this point.
now we're here and it's happened, and we don't have to be mad about it. We could be sad. You could be sad. I know Mitch.
Well, I already went on my completely utter bad tirade where I contradicted myself time and time again.
No, but Mitch, last week you talked about how you wanted to come to ASU because it was in the Pac-12.
Oh yeah, look, every college that I applied to coming out of high school was a Pac-12 school. I applied to Washington, I applied to Oregon, I applied to that other school in this state, I applied to Arizona State.
What?
Shush, that's a story for a different day. I mean, I lived in Colorado, and Colorado had just joined the Big 12, so even that could, or not the Big 12, that's what they're doing now, the Pac-12.
Yeah.
So even that could have been an option if I wanted to stay in state. So yes, it is absolutely heartbreaking. Like Jesse just said, it is heartbreaking that this conference is just dissolved. Like that. Like Thanos put the freaking
it's not,
Infinity
though.
Gauntlet on and
Because
boom.
we get a year of enjoying the conference one more time.
Right.
You know who's not going to enjoy it? George Kliavkov, okay?
Okay, well,
He's not gonna
I'm sorry,
enjoy
he did a
this
bad
next year.
job.
You know what Gambo said earlier, and you can listen to the Burns and Gambo show every day from 2 to 6 on Arizona
Shout
Sports,
out.
the local sports leader. Gambo said, does he resign in absolute embarrassment before the season?
Get the limo ready, Gambo.
Well,
Get the limo ready.
He or his PR team appear to be going down fighting. Did you guys see the statement that the Conference of Champions,
Please.
or whatever's left of them, released? With the Pac-12 logo, by the way. That's cute. Quote, today's
Does
news
it have
is
all the teams on it?
No. Quote, today's news is incredibly disappointing for student athletes, fans, alumni, and staff of the Pac-12 who cherish the over 100-year history, tradition, and rivalries of the Conference of Champions. Shrug. That was not part of the quote. We remain focused on securing the best possible future for each of our member universities. But to be honest, if I'm picking my own quote out of that quote, the best possible future for Stanford, Cal, Wazoo, and OSU, it's not in the Conference of Champions or whatever you want to call this conference.
I think that Stanford and Cal, they're just going to end up somehow getting into the Big Ten.
I agree.
And then I think
At least Stanford is.
And I think that Oregon State and Wazoo will go to the Mountain West. That's what I think.
Or does Stanford now? I'm
Or
curious.
be independents.
I'm curious about the independent angle, only because Stanford plays Notre Dame every year, and I know Notre Dame kind of gets to tailor their own schedule as an independent. But putting Stanford on their schedule every single year, maybe that sort of appeals to Stanford a bit more than, going to the Big Ten.
You're
going to
have to join a conference in other sports.
Sure.
Like you're going to have to be in a conference for basketball.
But here's the struggle for Stanford.
I mean, Notre Dame's in a ACC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The struggle for
And
Stanford.
they play an ACC schedule for football too.
Right. But the struggle for Stanford is because they have to worry about way more sports than most of the average universities do. They have like over 30 athletics programs. Yeah. And you cannot just find conferences for every single one of those. Remember during 2020 when the world was shut down, basically,
Yeah.
they had to cancel like more than close to half of their athletics programs as a result of
And
not
then they
having the
just
funding.
somehow brought him back.
Like, what happens now, knowing that they don't have the necessary funding? There's still no TV deal for this conference, by the way. Like, what happens to them and all that?
I don't know. That's the sad thing because, they love their rowing in the Bay Area. And if they're not going to get their rowing, what are they going to do? No offense to rowers out there, but what are they going to do without the rowing?
I guess UW is in the Big Ten, so maybe that's the way to go.
I heard something about someone made the observation. Why don't they just join the Ivy League?
Oh.
That's not going to happen.
They would win everything every year.
No. Here's why that's not going to happen, Jeremy. Because the Ivy League would never have their student athletes fly cross country for games. They don't give out scholarships, Jeremy. Athletic scholarships do not happen to Ivy League players. All the Ivy League players have like 3.8s and above. It's not happening.
Shout out my cousin who's at Brown.
That needed to be in this podcast.
Mitch, can you read the statements from number 1, Michael Crow, and number 2, Arizona State?
Yeah, absolutely. So Arizona State released their official release at around 6:30 or so. We're currently recording at like 7 at night on a Friday. Quote from Michael Crow. Yeah, I timestamp things. Quote, we are excited for this new chapter, a move that is necessary to remain competitive in top-tier Division I athletics. We are joining a premier athletic conference and bringing with us programs on the rise, our rich traditions and history, and the Metro Phoenix media market. We're in a good spot, and we are pleased to be with you, Arizona and Utah. I don't know why I laugh. Close quote. I don't know why I laugh so much of him referencing you, Arizona. I thought they threw out that moniker.
They just don't. Just nobody. It's like we'll get to this later. It's like how a lot of Sun Devil fans are just gonna still call it Sun Devil Stadium.
Yeah. But even like University of Arizona probably hates the U Arizona. That's why I laugh when it's written there in the release.
So Michael Crow.
Maybe it's a little soft dig at the rival.
That's what I'm hoping it is.
I hope that it is because that would mean that Michael Crow is caring about athletics.
Rivalry's alive and well.
Yay.
I'm ready for it.
I think that was a begrudging statement, though, by Michael Crow. I think that he hates this. As we've seen from many reports, he's kind of been dragged to the finish line on this. He wanted to stick with the Pac-12. And, I honestly can't blame him because he wanted to make it work. But yeah, the statement there, it doesn't seem like he's the most enthused person in the world.
What are your favorite Pac-12 memories?
2014, Arizona State takes down Arizona in men's basketball at what was then Wells Fargo Arena.
That was a great game.
And it was in double overtime. Jordan Baczynski blocked TJ McConnell. Jahi Carson picked up the ball, went down, threw it down, hung on the rim for a little bit to punctuate the victory. The place went crazy. I believe they stormed the court. That was like my first Pac-12 memory that's like something where I cared about the Pac-12 because I was already thinking about going to Arizona State at the time. And so that to me is probably my favorite memory. And then, games that I've covered and broadcasted, obviously I really enjoyed covering ASU beating Oregon in football in 2019 with Justin Herbert. I loved covering
ASU beating Oregon in women's basketball.
I called that game on for the student radio station ASU.
That's a good win.
Yeah, it was a big win. It was the only loss all season for the Sabrina Ionescu, Satu Sabali led Oregon Ducks
that was a
year.
powerhouse team.
That team was so good. And then
I'm so
the
happy
Pac-12
that ASU
tournaments that I've covered and the bowl games, the bowl game that I covered. Those were great memories.
I'm so glad ASU doesn't have to play Oregon and Oregon State in women's basketball anymore. Those schools just had our number, and most of the time, you'd look up and it was like 50-22 in the second half. And
Yeah, give the
Unless
state
it
of
was
Oregon
unless it was Oregon against ASU in Tempe.
and that
the-
yeah.
give the state of Oregon credit for recruiting some of the better women's basketball players in the country.
Mitch.
It's funny you mentioned that because our fine digital team at Arizona Sports actually asked if I could contribute something. I'm not going to read my whole thing, but I will mention. I remember my parents coming down my freshman year. As I mentioned, my dad's a Stanford alum, and they came down for the Stanford Sun Devils game. And I remember ASU won, and I distinctly remember a certain individual that was my neighbor growing up. He was that year the punt returner and the kick returner for Stanford, and he muffed one of the returns, and ASU recovered it. That was Christian McCaffrey, by the way. I
Wait,
think he
you
turned
grew
out
up
okay.
near Christian McCaffrey?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense because his dad played for the Broncos.
Exactly.
Are you guys friends?
Not nearly as close as we were like when we were 3. So it's
That's
a long
crazy.
time ago.
Can we get him on the pod?
I don't think so. I don't have that kind of a connection.
He
with
would
you
not
guys.
like me because I'm very anti running backs getting paid.
Oh gosh, he's already gotten paid.
Exactly, but I'm like anti. I think that you should just draft a new running back in the 6th round every year.
Anyway, I thought it was funny, and after ASU beat Stanford, I poked fun at my dad for the rest of the evening, and all of his Stanford buddies who lived in Arizona. I went to that game too. But yeah, that McCaffrey kid turned out okay, don't you think?
Yeah, he's all right.
Kind of.
What about you, Jeremy?
I will go back to 2015. I was a freshman in college. I went on the nice bus trip to the UCLA game.
Ooh.
The school had a trip if you paid like $100 or something. It was like $90.
You get to go to the Rose Bowl. Like, I'm taking that trip too.
Tailgate included as well.
Tailgate included. Really good seats in the corner. ASU band was there. Cheerleaders were there. So much fun. That was the Kalen Balaj game where he just dragged a bunch of players into the end zone, and they knocked off number 8 UCLA in the Rose Bowl.
No one irrationally likes Kalen Balaj more than Jeremy Schnell.
Because of that specific play and the 7-touchdown game.
And the fact that he somehow just maintains a spot on a professional football team's roster, no matter.
Hey, good for him.
Miami
Love
Dolphins
seeing,
great.
love seeing ASU in the
Yes,
big
of
leagues. Come on.
course, of course.
Where
but
is Kalen Balaj right now, guys?
I was more of a Demario Richard fan.
Mario Richard.
Yeah, he averaged like 2 yards a carry in
Yeah,
his
but
junior
that
year.
but that senior year that he had was insane.
Real talk.
We are
that
way
trio,
off topic.
That trio of running backs between Eno Benjamin,
Yes.
Kalen Balaj, and Demario Richard, that was a powerhouse running back.
That's what I'm saying.
Kalen is in the XFL, San Antonio.
The Renegades, right?
Brahmas.
Hmm.
I think it's Dallas Renegades or the Arlington Renegades. Something.
Can I
like
take
that.
us slightly off topic for just a second?
We
It's
already
all,
are.
It's all related. But, Brett Yarmark became the commissioner of the Big 12 on August 1st, 2022.
Sure.
Good for him.
3 months after that was when he signed the new media rights deal for the Big 12. And now, a year after that, basically, he has 6 new schools in his conference.
He saved the conference after they lost
Isn't that
Texas and
amazing to
Oklahoma.
think about?
I feel like people thought that the Big 12 was going to be the one that goes away because remember the alliance between the Big 10,
Oh my
the
god!
ACC,
And then the Big 10 literally stole
Pac-12.
4 schools from the Pac-12.
So good. You can't make this stuff up. It's just all a cash grab. Can we just talk about how this is all a cash grab
Oh, it's totally a cash grab.
and how like
Why
nobody?
Why do you think everybody bailed on a reported Apple TV streaming only deal where it would have been
Because they
$20 a
wanted more
year?
money. As Wolf likes to say, kill your sacred cows.
All right. Trivia.
Let's not take all of Wolf's
Let's be
isms,
sentimental
please.
for a second.
Okay.
Trivia. Who won the first Pac-12 championship in football?
Like
Doesn't know?
Pac-12, not Pac-10.
No, 1916.
Okay.
First
okay.
champion
So the
of the
Pac-8.
Yes.
Might have been the Pac-6 back then. I don't even know.
I'm just gonna guess Cal.
Let's say
You only have 8
This team,
options. Come on.
This team went 6-0-1. They had a 3-0-1 record in the conference.
say
Coach-
Washington State.
Coached by Gil Doby.
I'm going to say Washington State.
Washington.
Oh, I was so close. Darn it. The other half of the Apple Cup.
In 1916. Let's go.
You were a young man then, Jeremy. In 1960.
Can you guys name the last 5 Pac-12 champions
In football,
in football?
Well,
Utah,
Okay.
Utah.
Okay.
Oregon was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Washington was one of them.
Oregon won twice. Washington won once.
That's it.
Well,
Yeah,
And
that's
then-
5.
5.
Because if Utah's won back-to-back, and then Oregon twice, and then Washington once.
Yep.
Yep,
There you go.
There you go.
See, we're smart.
And then, of course, who won the Pac-12 in 1996, guys?
It was the Pac-10, and it's Arizona State.
Yeah.
I'm a Sun Devil, man.
And then they
Rose
lost the Rose Bowl.
Ah. What's the future of the Rose Bowl, boys?
I can tell you this: Arizona's going to have to get very creative if they want to go to their first one.
I think it's going to be
It's a part of the. It'll be a part of the playoff.
correct. I think it's going to be a part of the playoff. It might just end up being a part of the playoff every year instead of a rotation, or it could end up being, a
Big
Big
10.
12 game.
Big 10, Big 12.
Big 10, Big 12.
Look, if there's
Yep.
no Pac-12, they obviously have to replace that one conference that is normally in it. So it's Big 10, Pac-12, but now you replace Pac-12 with who?
Or it could be Big 10 versus Big 12 West, the winner of that division.
Or even just make it an at-large game altogether.
Yep.
Really get a variety of schools into the Rose Bowl. Like if you say you're having your glory year and you're an ACC school and you got an invite to the Rose Bowl, don't you think that would be a great way to get some fans out from the East Coast to the West Side? I think that would be
Yeah.
an awesome way to go about the Rose Bowl. Make it an at-large game
Yeah.
other than a playoff game, obviously.
I agree.
Before we get out of here, what's the funniest rivalry? Funniest new rivalry
I have this.
that ASU
Are you ready?
has?
Yeah.
It's
In-
TCU.
Why?
Because they
The
just broke the hearts of ASU basketball literally a few months ago. And I'm still angry about it.
So we're getting Horned Frogs against Sun Devils.
Yeah, I don't think either of those are actual animals or creatures, but here we go.
I'm gonna say it's gotta just be UCF or Cincinnati versus ASU.
I
This is
think
gonna
what-
make no
I
sense.
think West Virginia is so weird.
It is. I mean,
It's so weird.
okay. Here's the thing about West Virginia. I can travel to that game, and I can stay with my mom in Roanoke, Virginia, and be like 2 hours away.
That's not bad.
It's not terrible.
Yeah, like no, like I would
take
do
your
that.
mom's car and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. I could fly into
Yeah.
Charlotte or whatever and get picked up by my mom. Like I could make it a trip to see my mom to cover that game, which is so weird.
It's a long trip, though.
I was thinking if I wanted to go to like a UCF game, I could go fly down to Miami and go with my sister, but it's a 4-hour drive. So like still
Florida's really big.
Yeah. Yeah, if you start in Miami, it takes about 7 hours to get out of the state.
I still have Colorado, so I think I'm good.
Okay.
That's rude of me.
We didn't ask. Some news before we get out of here. Mountain America Stadium
Actually, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. It is a 4-hour and 31-minute drive from my mother's place
How
to
dare you be
Morgantown.
wrong by
So
2 hours and a half.
So I probably couldn't do that. So scratch that.
If you're just joining us, Jesse's very bad with directions.
I got it confused with like
if you're just joining us, this is a podcast.
I got yeah, who would skip to this part of the podcast? We have the 4%. Shout out the 4% that listen this far, by the way. Y'all are the real ones.
That was good, Jeremy.
Thanks to our parents, basically.
No, there's others. There's others. That guy that comments on my takes.
That one guy, yeah.
Who, me?
No. let me this guy. Let me find him on
Shout
Twitter.
out.
I'm gonna shout out this guy on
And
Twitter.
if he doesn't comment that he was shouted out in this episode, you're going to hear it from me, Jesse.
Okay, it's gonna. I covered Diana Taurasi's 10,000th point yesterday, so I got to go reel back in my tweets.
Maybe we could do a mailbag on people's reactions to this.
Mail time.
I mean, this is huge. So, like, for the next podcast episode, if I'm promoting it now,
He loved that I did
we've
that.
lost him. We've lost him, ladies and gentlemen. I think a mailbag could be fun. Get some, fan reaction to what's happened here today.
You're producing on the air. I love it.
Justin
Well, that's what I
Prestergaard.
do.
Thanks, Justin.
Justin Prestergaard, that guy.
Appreciate you.
Shout out, Justin.
He comments on my takes.
All right. So it's now Mountain America Stadium.
Yeah, it's built right into a mountain, America.
Yeah.
Or it's no. I screwed that up. It's Mountain A America.
Mountain A America. That's what Kenny Dillingham said the other day. That caught him a lot of heat, but I don't.
He'll be fine.
This brings money to Arizona State. I'm
Yes.
sorry,
Matters.
fans. You can still call it Sun Devil Stadium if you want to. But this brings money to Arizona State. Brings money to the athletic program. Nothing bad about this. They didn't rename Frank Kush Field. They didn't take down the Tillman statue.
Yep.
They didn't take down the Frank Kush statue. This is just overall a great move because, again, this could probably lead to some NIL deals. Think about get the new Mountain America debit card. I'm Trenton Bourget here. I have the Mountain America debit card.
Oh,
You
careful.
can
we don't know if
too.
they're related. We don't know if they have NIL. I know Trenton's got other stuff for NIL, but
I know. I'm just
I get
saying
your
that.
They
point.
got the
I get your-
bicycles.
oh my gosh.
I'm just saying that I used Trenton as an example here.
Yeah. But just careful because they can't get paid for that stuff now.
Yes.
You could have said your name backwards and just like made yourself a fake athlete.
Isesh.
You should have said.
Isesh Nasiram.
Sure.
I was just saying he could say my name is Morrison Jesse, but go ahead. That's fine too, Mitch.
I don't. Yeah.
Took
But
it too literally.
anyway, it's good for Arizona State. Stop complaining. Not everything is a cause for outrage. We don't just need to get mad on Twitter for the sake of getting mad on Twitter. So ASU fans, you know
Don't
what?
you mean
You know what? You know what?
X?
Actually, ASU fans. Actually, you know what? This is what I'm going to say to you.
Uh-oh.
If you have so much problem with the name of the stadium, you better go to the stadium because I haven't seen you guys at the stadium all that much.
Yeah, stop outraging about
So
a stadium that you don't
yeah,
go to.
if you're outraging about the stadium, actually go to the stadium.
Sick burn, Jesse.
So yeah,
You
you
really
can check
got
out my
him.
rant from last year after the UCLA game. These fans better do better, especially the students.
There's a pillow fight on the Ocho right now.
Some dude is dressed up in Joker.
Okay,
Makeup.
let's cut this part out.
That's going to do it for this edition of State of the Sun Devils. Wow. This has been a whirlwind of the past 2 weeks.
It's a
and-
big 12th day,
Yeah.
Jeremy.
So we're going to talk about this a lot more as we go on and move forward, but I just think that ASU made the right choice here and just exciting times to come, and let's enjoy this final season of Pac-12 after dark.
Is it back the pack? I'm sorry. It's not back the pack anymore. It's like buckle up for the Big 12, something like that.
Back away from the pack.
Back,
Does
sure.
that work?
Sure. I don't
What
know.
is it
up,
going to be?
Pac.
It's not going to be Pac-12. It's obviously not. Is it
Bump the Big 12,
is it
you
just
know,
Big 12
you
after
know, like-
dark now?
You know how, like,
12 throwdown.
You know how like when you quote tweet yourself on a take that you got right and you say bump the Big 12. There you go. I got it. I win. I'm out.
All right.
He's turned off his microphone, ladies and gentlemen. He
Thanks.
literally is gone.
Thanks to Mitch Ferreldis and Jesse Morrison. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at AZ Sports Devils. For those two, I'm Jeremy Schnell. We'll talk to you again soon.